The mention of a futures exchange, and in particular the word derivative trade, would be likely to send shivers down the spine of those who understand what was at the root of the global financial crisis. Yet a futures exchange dealing in derivatives is what Treasury has proposed to establish in Kenya. This would be a first for Sub-Saharan Africa, excluding South Africa, and this is a step that has to be taken as the country grows into a financial hub. Our feature will explore what needs to be done to make the futures exchange safe and effective. Also in this edition of KTN Business Weekly, an entrepreneur who hires out greenhouses, and your question answered tonight by Manyara Kirago. Good evening and welcome to this edition of KTN Business Weekly. I'm Michael Oyer. A futures exchange or a futures market is a central financial exchange where people can trade a contract to buy specific quantities of a commodity or financial instrument at a specified price with delivery set at a specified time in the future. Such contracts are classified as derivatives and are priced according to the movement of the underlying asset, whether a stock or physical in nature. The derivative would therefore ideally, that is, as we say, ideally, reduce risks associated with pricing and delivery of the underlying assets, such as maize, by giving a future price and promise of delivery. How will a futures exchange help develop Kenya's financial market? What are the benefits to farmers, for instance, and what new investment opportunity would such a market present? And of course, what will ensure that the futures exchange is safe and effective? Our feature has more.
And as the minister went through his financial estimates in Parliament, investors and other players in the country's financial markets were going through a newspaper advertisement by the Capital Markets Authority calling for expression of interest in the establishment and operation of a futures exchange in the country. Since then, the investing public is caught in some excitement over the additional investment avenue and what it portends for the country's economy.
The futures markets, which are also called the derivatives market, are markets where commodities and other financial assets are traded. Now, a derivative, by definition, is an asset that derives its value from something else. In this case, for instance, you might have derivatives that are based on, for instance, wheat. Other derivatives could be based on maize, derivatives could be based on oil, precious metals, and the list can go on and on. And that's where the name commodities comes from. So commodities exchanges where now futures are traded. And the distinction here is that futures or commodities exchanges are regulated entities that trade in futures.
We were pleasantly surprised by the announcement and the speed at which the Capital Markets Authority is now moving ahead with the plans for implementation. We believe this may have come about because of the need to introduce in our market the price stabilization amongst various products. We're also thinking that the need for it could have been brought about because of trying to create a common pricing platform as we go forward.
A futures exchange or futures market is a central financial exchange where people can trade standardized futures contracts, that is a contract to buy specific quantities of a commodity or financial instrument at a specified price with delivery set at a specified time in the future.
And if you look at the current setting, if you take, for example, a farmer out there, let's say, who's planting maize, and they are planting it on a large scale. Now, there are various factors that might be against the farmer. For instance, rains might fail. Another thing is that prices might vary by the time the harvest is due, and he might not be able to recover the cost that he made and make a profit. Now, that's where commodities exchanges come in. So two parties enter into a contract, and they enter into that contract, let's say today in June, that says the farmer commits himself and he says, on the 30th day of November, I will supply to you 1,000 bags of maize at a price of so much. So the quantity is established and the price is established. Now what that does for the farmer is that it covers him in case there's any downward fluctuation in the price of maize. On the side of the other party, for instance, who could be a miller, it also secures his supply, in the sense that in the event that there's any drought or there's crop failure, for instance, there's a third party at the commodities exchange, who insures that contract?
These types of contracts fall into the category of derivatives. Such instruments are priced according to movement of the underlying assets such as stocks or physical commodities. In finance, a derivative is an agreement based on an underlying asset. Instead of exchanging the actual asset, agreements are made to exchange cash or other assets for the underlying asset within a specified time frame. As the value of the underlying asset changes, so does the value of the derivative.
In between, the price variation will be debited or credited either to the buyer or the seller during that period of time. In the end, this type of agreement ultimately involves delivery of the product or receipt of that product in physical form at the end, at that future date.
And then now you have the other third party, which are now the people who will be looking forward to actively participate in the trading in futures, in the futures market. And these are actually traders who will be looking to catch on any shift in the prices of the futures contract.
Derivatives have been in the market for as long as trade has existed. They seek to reduce risks associated with pricing and delivery of the underlying asset. In a regulated futures exchange, there is a third party in the agreement who acts as a clearing house with the role of ensuring that the contract will be upheld by both parties. The clearing house takes insurance on the contract to mitigate against factors that would interfere with enforcement of the contract.
I think one of the key other elements will be to see how it will be hosted in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Will they set a separate, kind of an overseer so that the operations are actually looked at in a different environment, or will we trade within the exchange? Those are some of the issues that need to be addressed as we go forward.
The key issue here is capacity building, both at the markets level to ensure that you have an adequate body of traders who are very, very conversant with derivatives trading and derivatives pricing and that kind of thing, and also on the side of the regulator to be able to monitor activity at the exchange.
The proposed futures exchange will be regulated by the Capital Markets Authority and will be the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, outside of South Africa. Various assets will be traded, including currencies, agricultural commodities, and minerals.
The advantage for farmers are many, and I think one of the key things is that they will be able to plan well ahead, because knowing that 6 months from now, the wheat that this guy has planted will be able to fetch him, say, 4,000, per bag. Then he will be able to work with what input cost does he have, and then he will be able to know whether his business is going to be profitable or not.
In Kenya, there has existed the Africa Mercantile Exchange Limited that was created in June 2005, a Nairobi-based commodity futures and options exchange and the first fully diversified commodities exchange in terms of product portfolio. The company has regulated itself since and has so far adapted technology including introduction of computer-based systems, handheld devices and the internet. The exchange has also introduced the Core Trader, an internet-based trading system that allows individual investors and proprietary traders to trade futures and options. It enables users to execute buy and sell orders online.
In other international markets, currency trading is online, is available to anyone who wishes to participate, even retail investors, even institutional investors. So we believe that this is a welcome move for us, and we look forward to seeing how fast the plans are to operationalize this exchange as we go forward into the future.
However, derivatives can result in unnecessary risks for investors. It should be remembered that even in the US, regulators had a difficult time monitoring derivative trades, which is said to have been the root cause of the global financial crisis that nearly plunged the world into another depression.
In every new introduction there are certain risks that will have to be mitigated against. One is over-speculation, we believe, because that could lead to, in fact, higher volatility. But we think that there are specific measures that can be put in place.
All in all, the establishment of a futures exchange is a step in the right direction, especially as Kenya positions itself to be a major financial hub in sub-Saharan Africa. Deadline for expressions of interest in establishment and running of a futures exchange in Kenya is on June 30th, and it is hoped that this will not end up in a winding bureaucratic process and endless kickstarts.
KTN Business Weekly returns with tonight's Enterprise feature with a man who hires out greenhouses, and your question is answered by personal financial advisor. More on that and the financial markets on the other side of this break. Stay with KTN Business Weekly.
Modern farming is becoming attractive to the youth by the day, with many deviating from the traditional subsistence farming and white-collar jobs to earn a living from the venture. However, the major hurdle experienced by youth who would like to get into this venture has been access to land. This is a story that leads us to Ruai, 45 kilometers from the city center. As we drive a dip into Ruai, the muddy road and dry vegetation speaks volumes about the neglected fertile land. Shortly, we see what appears as an oasis in the desert. This is Sam Kadhigi's farm, today's entrepreneur. Sam, an engineer by training and IT consultant, started this farm 8 years ago in this area considered to be semi-arid. Digging a borehole and irrigating his land turned it into this. It's his approach into farming that is unique. Sam has developed a unique business model that has seen him hire out land to those who are interested in farming but do not have the infrastructure. He says that the idea, a light bulb literally, was brought by the realization that there is a future in farming at this time when food prices are skyrocketing.
I saw that nothing much was happening as far as food security is concerned in this country. And with the way my background is in being able to solve problems, I saw it's still possible to solve problems from an IT background and translate them into solving food problems.
Sam started Gramora Garden Center, which specializes in open and greenhouse farming and currently grows greenhouse tomatoes, arrowroot, sweet potatoes, watermelons and beans, as well as fish ponds on the side.
The farming model is based on 4 concepts. The first is being able to provide infrastructure for people who don't have time to go buy land, dig a borehole, get employees, be able to get markets. So we saw a need to create an environment where people can actually rent space at an affordable price, friendly to the pocket, and now you can be able to grow crops for them, high yield crops, and in turn also create employment in the area.
A greenhouse offers a controlled environment, allowing the farmer to grow whatever type of plant and achieve the desired result. There are some plants that require full sun, less sun, lots of water, or only very little bit of water. In the greenhouse, they can grow plants in different sections within the greenhouse.
What I'm calling the giant greenhouses have a dimension of 8 by 30 meters, so it's 240 meters squared. You're able to put in around 1,400 stems of either capsicums or tomatoes or even chilies. And that uses a capacity of almost 1,000 liters because each greenhouse comes with its own water tank. The capacity is around a tank of 1,000 liters.
The farm leases out its land to investors and farmers who learn from the farm and also enjoy economies of scale.
One, you need to be very courageous to get into farming. Many people fear. That's the biggest thing that they fear the most. Secondly, one of course comes with their greenhouse. It belongs to them. We're able to do a lease concept where they're able to lease a 1/16 of an acre of the space, and they pay rent for that, and then they also budget in the money for the water that we provide, and then they pay directly to the person who is managing the crop for them. We train them and we provide accommodation for them, so that's not a problem. So they just need to ensure they're able to pay the person managing the greenhouse well and fairly, and then we take care of the rest.
During the dry season, the farm uses its borehole with a capacity of 9 cubic meters of water per hour, good fertile soils and skilled staff to ensure maximum growth.
We try to work backwards. What's important is getting the market first. If you can get the market and a good market and minimizing the costs in terms of having people coming to buy the vegetables from the farm, you're able to decrease on costs and maximize on productivity and return.
The farm now has 7 greenhouses belonging to different investors, with each of them at 70% capacity and earning 300,000 per harvest. Business has been good, and this year Sam quit his business and is on the farm full-time.
And in the market report, the economic growth stood at 5.6% for 2010, as last reported by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And inflation is at 12.95% as at the end of March. The 91-day Treasury bill rate is attracting interest at the rate of 9%, while the 182-day paper is pegged at 9.94%. The 364-day tenor is at 10.24%. The average bank lending rate as at the end of April stood at 13.92%, while the average bank deposit rate stands at 3.47%, meaning the banks are enjoying a spread of 10.45%. At the Nairobi Stock Exchange, there are 3 stocks currently trading with dividends. Kapchorwa Tea is trading with a dividend of 7 shillings and 50 cents per share, and books close on 2nd of July, and the payment date subject to approval. Williamson Tea carries a dividend of 12 shillings and 50 cents a share, and books close on the 5th of August, while Kenya Airways carries a dividend of 1 shilling and 50 cents if one buys or holds the shares to October the 14th. On your question answered tonight, Eric Mwangi says he got a better job 3 months ago and he's currently earning a net of 24,000 shillings. His expenditure includes rent at 6,000 shillings, water and electricity at 2,000 shillings, and transport and food each at 3,000 shillings. He asks, how can I save and own a house in some years to come? We put the question to financial advisor Manyara Kirago. Manyara.
Thank you for that question. Now that you say your income is about 24,000 shillings and given 20, you can save probably between 5 to 10,000. That's what you're able to save. Now, what I would urge you to do is to be very realistic about this. That kind of money, it would really be overly optimistic to expect to own a home in 2 years. What I would urge you to do is maybe look at it and break it down, that big goal, into smaller goals. Like, for instance, first start by trying to buy a plot over the next 2 or 3 years. With that kind of income, that can be possible if you save consistently. Then, with the idea that once you've got the plot, you can now take the next few years to build on that plot. With that kind of income, that is what is possible. But obviously, another way to look at it is, if you're very young, maybe what you should be really focusing on is improving your career. Maybe going to school and so that your income increases, and that way you'll be able to actually achieve a lot more. So it really depends on the circumstances. But if you want to own a house right now with that kind of income, I believe breaking it down in that way would really be helpful.
Thank you. Ask your question and we will get an expert to respond. Send the question to 8040 via text message or via email to ktnbizweekly@standardmedia.co.ke. Thank you for watching this edition of KTN Business Weekly. From the entire KTN Business Weekly team, until next week's edition on KTN Business Weekly, I'm Michael Oyer, returning soon on KTN Prime.